You're watching WALA Channel 10, bringing you more news more often. Now, from the #1 news station on the Gulf Coast, this is Action News 10 live at 6 p.m.
From the sky, you can see the path that Opal left behind.
And from the ground, you can see what folks are doing about it. Hi, I'm Deiah Foster.
And I'm Bob Grip. A day after Opal, efforts to get the Gulf Coast together again are in high gear.
We have team coverage of the recovery process, starting in Gulf Shores and moving all along the coast.
And we'll have an update on the repairs as well. Well, they were still recovering from the effects of Hurricane Erin when Opal swept into town.
Now, folks living in the Pensacola Beach area once again have their hands full with hurricane cleanup. Nancy Pasternak spent the day touring the destruction there. Let's check in with Jason Berry. He's now in Gulf Shores. Jason?
Well, Deiah, if you've ever lived up north, this might look a little familiar to you, except it isn't snow, it's sand, and lots of it. Hurricane Opal dropped a few inches on Gulf Shores. As you can see, there's a giant mountain here on the beach. The beach is kind of shortened a little bit. For those of you who ever wanted to know what it would be like to have mountains by the beach, well, here's your chance to take a look. But as you look along some of the boardwalk over here, you can see how much sand Opal really did drop in the area. Some of these businesses say they had about 4 or 5 feet worth of sand piled up right up to their front door. Now, this wasn't the only place where there was some extensive damage. This afternoon, our own Randy Tatanio had a chance to survey the damage, and what he found is Gulf Shores is definitely a town divided.
This might look like a New England snowstorm, but West Beach Boulevard is digging out from a blizzard of sand. And while streets on West Beach lived up to their names, East Beach looked completely different. Instead of sand, there was rubble, two completely different looks from the same storm. The normally pristine beaches would have to pick up after Hurricane Opal. Right in the middle, the pavilion took a knockout punch from the storm as she twisted the structure into a roller coaster of wood. Every summer, the beach at Gulf Shores becomes a parking lot. This time, the parking lot became the beach. This sand is at least a foot deep in some places. And just to show you the strength of Hurricane Opal, keep following me because eventually we'll get to what used to be the lifeguard stand way out here in the parking lot. Those who prepared for the disaster counted their blessings. Everyone seemed to think it could have been a lot worse. Did you lose anything?
No, the store's fine.
Yeah.
My house had about 2 inches of water in it, but other than that, we're in good shape.
How'd your bank make out?
Fine. We had some little wet carpet, but other than that, I think we came through it real well.
Everyone we talked with wants to save this year's Shrimp Festival. It is a major event that keeps merchants afloat between Labor Day and snowbird season. And to do that, the sugar white sand that attracts so many must ironically be put back on the beach. In Gulf Shores, Randy Tatanio, Action News 10.
Now, right now, I'm standing next to what's left of the pavilion that Randy showed you earlier. As you can see, Hurricane Opal literally turned this into little blocks of wood, and this is one of the big concerns local officials have when deciding whether or not the Shrimp Festival will actually take place or not next week. Now, I have been told that there is a meeting set up with the mayor and the Shrimp Fest committee for tomorrow, and hopefully then they will make a decision as to whether or not the Shrimp Festival will go on as planned. Everybody keeping their fingers crossed. Bob, Deiah.
All right, thanks, Jason. North Baldwin County seems to have been spared the worst of Opal's destruction.
But as Action News 10's James Gordon reports, parts of central Baldwin County were the hardest hit by water damage, where some creeks and some rivers overflowed and finally began receding today.
By now, water service in Spanish Fort is back online. Utility crews were kept busy throughout the day as a portion of Highway 31 collapsed, damaging the main underground water lines.
For the next 2 to 3 days, they need to boil their water for drinking, just as a precautionary measure. To conserve water, they've got to fill the fire tanks back up before they actually let people use their water exclusively.
Bill Fierno's weekend home near Summerdale is surrounded by the rising waters along Fish River.
Well, I don't think there's any damage. I brought everything upstairs, so it wasn't, it didn't get upstairs. It just got in the downstairs room, and it, just washed some things away I didn't want anyway. But maybe a lot of people aren't that fortunate. I don't know.
these people left and they got flooded out. This guy left, he got flooded out, and so we were pretty lucky. We're on a hill.
Obviously, the further south, the more damage. For example, here at this marina in Lillian, some boat owners were able to get their vessels out in time. But others, as you can see, weren't so lucky.
Most of them we were able to get out, most of them. A lot of them just didn't even bother to call. They just ignored it. They're there.
The damage may have been minimal, but folks in central Baldwin County know well that luck and many prayers were on their side. In Lillian, James Gordon, Action News 10.
Well, officials with Baldwin County Emergency Management say that for the most part, compared to Hurricane Aaron, Opal did little wind damage in central and northern Baldwin County, and they're thankful for that.
Well, Mobile residents are also counting their blessings tonight as Opal spared most homes from severe damage there.
But not everyone was immune to Opal's fury. An entire street in West Mobile was blocked by large tree branches and trunks, and a home just around the corner lost 2 pine trees to the high winds and all the rain. The storm kept the phone company very busy as downed limbs knocked out phone lines and electricity in a number of areas, including one that did kind of a balancing act on a telephone wire. The trees also buried cars and houses. People we talked to told us they were glad the port city was, for the most part, spared the worst of the storm.
So when I drove up here, I could not believe it. My first thought was, thank goodness we did not stay in our house. We've got 2 kids and they would have been devastated.
Amy Greer spent today in one of the hardest hit areas. That's Fort Walton Beach. She's in our newsroom right now to tell us how things look today. Amy, what did it look like?
Well, Deiah, just to give you a taste, take a look right behind me. This is something we've been seeing all day long. The sailboat is right in the front yard of St. Simon's Episcopal Church here on the boulevard they call the Miracle Strip in Fort Walton Beach that runs along 98 on to Destin and Panama City. We have seen boats just littered along this thoroughfare, lifted right out of their slips along the piers and marinas, and just smashed here along the roadway and into parking lots and what have you, all along Highway 98. Throughout the day, we've been seeing a lot of dramatic things. A church, for instance, just a few blocks away. We saw the pastor as he arrived to inspect the damage. He and his wife almost spent the night there, arrived today to find the roof had been ripped off, the whole building demolished. Boats, as we said, from the marinas just smashed around, tossed about like toys by Opal. And the storm surge, if anyone questions how high those tidal waters became, at least 10 to 15 feet, you only had to look at what it did to the boats. We saw one of them left waiting in the drive-through lane of a fast food restaurant. Houseboats were just smashed around throughout the roadways, leaving them very hard to pass. Along Highway 98, you had some sightseers kind of defying the curfew, coming out to see for themselves something that they hope to never see again in their lifetimes. One woman we finally saw had her home ripped out completely. She lived right on the water. Her pier and dock and boat were completely submerged. Her home was just destroyed. And right now, she's sending her children to live with her parents in Little Rock. She has no idea where she will go from this point. A lot of stories like that, as this area, of course, the hardest hit. The big question, Fort Walton Beach, you've seen the dramatic pictures from the air. The aerial's all we're seeing right now because you still cannot cross the Sanibel Bridge into Fort Walton Beach, so a lot of that remains to be seen. Quickly, I'll tell you that Elizabeth Dole was here on behalf of the American Red Cross earlier, and she said the relief effort will cost millions. The actual damage toll could be at least $1 billion. That's still unconfirmed. We'll have more for you from this hard-hit area tonight at 10. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Amy. Well, they were still recovering from the effects of Hurricane Aaron when Opal swept into town. And
now folks living in the Pensacola Beach area once again have their hands full with all the hurricane cleanup. Nancy Pasternak spent the day touring the destruction there.
Santa Rosa Island is devastated, and it may be a while before we know exactly how bad the situation is.
They thought this was the worst part of Hurricane Opal, crashing waves and powerful winds. But now, under blue skies, a picture of destruction is clear. Scott Carter is trying to fix some of the damage.
About an hour and a half where the eye hit, it was kind of like, didn't make any difference anymore. You know, if 4 of us were pulling on a line, it wouldn't move the boat, you know. The rain was feeling like getting hit with BBs. Pretty wild.
Those wild winds swept these boats onto shore in Gulf Breeze, causing millions of dollars in damage.
I think had the storm been just a little worse, those boats would be in our living rooms today. So we're really fortunate not to have more damage than what we have, and thankful to God that we have a home to come back to.
Others aren't that lucky. Opal swept Santa Rosa Island, carving a path of destruction, splitting the island into almost 3 parts.
We're assessing most of the damage, and I don't have any other information to give you other than that.
The destruction is so bad, only emergency crews are allowed, leaving homeowners behind with binoculars, waiting and wondering.
Just wondering what's happening with my house and if I have a job, if my friends all have jobs or houses.
Kelly, along with many others, had just completed repairs from Hurricane Aaron. Now this is what will greet them. Collapsed buildings, debris everywhere, and one restaurant gutted by fire. In the water, Marine patrols are making sure no one gets too close.
There's a lot of damage. There's some homes that are virtually untouched, and there's some that are totally demolished. Earlier this morning, I went down Via de Luna in a 4-wheel drive, and you have to have a 4-wheel drive to get down Via de Luna. There's places that it's washed completely through. Places the road is washed up. There's boats sunk. I almost hit a Jeep this morning in the water.
For many, the next few weeks will mean finding temporary shelter, talking with insurance agents, and for one man who used to work as a chef in this restaurant, it means looking for new employment.
Hopefully we get a temporary job or get some assistance or something. Somehow there's a lot of people going to be out of work, and that particular restaurant I work is 35 to 40 employees, and that would be pretty bad for us, you know, being out of work.
While emergency officials still don't know how long it'll be before people can return to their homes and their businesses, they do know that these residents won't be returning to the same Santa Rosa Island they once knew. In Escambia County, Nancy Pasternak, Action News 10.
There are no definite assessments of the damage on the island, but those who have actually been through the community tell us it will obviously cost millions of dollars to restore that community.
Let's give you a bird's eye view along Opal's raft.
All along the coast, Opal left signs of her passing, beach erosion and debris scattered everywhere.
In the Dauphin Island area, some homes were damaged, and the farther east you travel along the coast, the worse it gets. There's no boardwalk left in Gulf Shores. Most of the pavilion is gone. In Perdido, the boats were tossed up onto the island, and beachfront houses are now almost in the water.
Towards Pensacola, the wind and tidal surge literally buried houses and hotels in the sand. It ripped roofs off their foundations and simply tore some houses to pieces. You see more clusters of damage in Navarre.
And continuing west, more boats are beached and houses switching places with boats. Some were stranded on land because of flooding, and some were just washed out to sea.
The president has declared Alabama and Florida major disaster areas, making federal funds available to help in the cleanup efforts. 4 urban search and rescue teams are on the way to the Gulf Coast tonight, and the Red Cross is coordinating its efforts to serve all the people who may need them.
Well, our team coverage of Hurricane Opal continues now.
In just a moment, we'll update you on what will be opened and closed tomorrow.
And we'll check in with the crews who have the power to turn your lights back on. Stay with us for complete updates and information in the aftermath of Hurricane Opal. As we continue our team coverage tonight, we also want to update you on the progress of repairs to all the power systems in the area tonight. Brett Oates went out with some Alabama power crews today as they blanketed the city trying to get everybody's lights back on.
Well, we're just going to hang out and hope the power comes back on. Now, we've got the doors open. It's getting a little warm in here, but hopefully the power will be back on in a couple hours and we'll be back in business.
Rose Wernrith is an employee of one of several businesses in West Mobile still in the dark after Hurricane Opal. Alabama power crews are just outside working to restore juice to this and other businesses and homes in the Mobile area. Power officials say the hurricane-force winds from Hurricane Opal put 113,000 folks in southwest Alabama in the dark.
By daybreak this morning, we had restored power to all but about 40,000 customers. So we've made significant progress since we got started.
Folks in Foley were able to get back to life as normal. Riviera power officials say they were able to get all their customers back online late this afternoon. Riviera utility officials say that 23,000 of their folks were without power, but they say thanks to the hard work of their linemen, some folks were without power for only 30 minutes. Richard Marquez was one of those folks. He says a tree limb took out his power line.
Eventually we had some candles and flashlights. We put on the flashlights and candles, and we got over it until the light came on again.
Alabama power officials say they're working as fast as they can to get everyone's power back on. In Mobile, Brett Oates, Action News 10.
And power officials say they plan to have all of their customers back online by Saturday.
We also want to update you on openings and closings in our area. First, schools. Class will resume tomorrow in Mobile, Washington, and Baldwin counties. Mobile Catholic and parochial schools will also be open. The University of Mobile, Carmen Child Care Center, Cedar Grove Academy, those will all be open tomorrow. Schools will be closed in Escambia County, Alabama. Most Pure Heart of Mary will also be closed until Monday. Graduate classes at Spring Hill College have been canceled for tonight, and there will be no class tomorrow at Spring Hill College, but all employees should report to work. Also, the Christus Lecture at Spring Hill College has been canceled for tonight. Santa Rosa County, Florida schools are also closed. The Santa Rosa County School Board meeting scheduled for tonight will be postponed until October 12th. The annual conference of the United Methodist Women held at the Blue Lake Assembly Grounds has been canceled for tonight. All public offices in Mobile and Baldwin counties will be open tomorrow, as well as Armstrong World Industries in Softly Field in Pensacola and Whiting Field in Milton.
And we're also told that Gulf Shores Elementary will be open tomorrow as well.
So what can we expect now that Opal is finally past us?
A lot of high water in the streams and rivers. Matter of fact, at Baker, Florida, the Blackwater River is expected to crest even higher than we originally thought, up to 23 or 24 feet. It's already 10 feet above normal.
Now, Action News 10 at 6 p.m. continues.
Yesterday, cloudy, windy, and wet. Today, sunny, still a little breezy and warm, as you see. 83 degrees in Mobile, the high there. Pensacola, 87, 82. In Fort Walton Beach and Pascagoula came in with a high of 84. 67 degrees was the low in the past 24 hours for Mobile, 71 Pensacola, 69 in Pascagoula, and 74 for Fort Walton Beach. In the downtown area of Mobile, it's 82 degrees, humidity at 48%. The winds are blowing from the west at 6 miles per hour, but down near the beaches now, the winds are kicked up to about 10 to 15 miles per hour, nothing like they were yesterday. 29.72, our barometer is holding steady. Temperatures around the area from Dauphin Island to over in Pascagoula, 82 degrees there, 83 in Mobile, 85 from Hattiesburg to Jackson, Mississippi and Alabama, Monroeville 84, Pensacola 82 right now, Fort Walton Beach a little bit devastated, but they're at a mild 82 degrees at the present time. This is what we have right here. This is a little system that's creating rain showers from the Rocky Mountain states on into the northern plains, and this is what is left of Opal, a large rainstorm that's moving across Indiana, Ohio, and heading for the eastern Great Lakes and eventually on up toward Canada. Let's go ahead and zoom in and show you what we look like. It's fantastic out there. Only a few wispy clouds here and there. Otherwise, generally, we're clear. There are some rain showers down in South Florida. A lot of rain is still sitting up there around Indiana and Ohio. Even some rain showers back across the Appalachian chain through the Smokies and along the beaches of North Carolina and Virginia. And there's still a lot of rainfall all the way from Titusville there and all the way down into southern Florida. These are some of the streams and rivers that are expected to be at above flood stage. Between here in Florida and Alabama, Big Escambia Creek expected to flood. And meanwhile, we've got another storm out there. This is a tropical storm, and it has the name of Pablo. Pablo is located 11.0 degrees north and 40.0 degrees west, winds of 50 miles per hour, moving on a west-northwesterly course at about 22. And these are the names that are still left. We don't expect to use any more of these names, but we didn't expect to use the letter O for Opal, did we? So it's still 1,400 miles. We're talking about Pablo, well east of the Lesser Antilles. Here's the map for tomorrow. Some scattered rain showers in Tennessee and Kentucky, some scattered rain showers across central Florida, and a frontal boundary coming into the area, giving us a great weather weekend. Fair and mild is the weather tonight. A little patchy fog is possible. The nighttime low in the lower 60s with light west winds. Mostly sunny tomorrow. The high is going to be in the mid-80s. West winds will become northwest tomorrow at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Then over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, partly cloudy, highs in the lower 80s to upper 70s. Lows in the 60s and even upper 50s. The weekend is looking great.
Good.
That's good for all the folks who had damage. At least they don't have to worry about rain for the next few days.
That's right. You can just about open up your windows and leave the tar paper off for just a couple of days, though, now.
All right. Thanks, John. Sports is coming up next.
Well, we all know that Hurricane Opal put a lot of things on hold. One of them was our Athlete of the Week, so let's take care of that business right now. Don Hawes has the player who's getting a kick out of the football season so far.
If you're looking for the kicker with one of the strongest, if not the strongest leg around town, look no further than St. Paul Place kicker Jonah DeSmukes.
He's been very, very consistent from around the, 40, 45-yard line. So, yeah, when we get in there, he's surely on our minds. Of course, we're just like any other team. We'd like to punch it in, but it's sure nice to have that safety net there, knowing you're pretty close to 3 points if you get inside the 30.
Part of what's helped Jonah connect on 20 of 22 field goal attempts since his sophomore year, including a long of 47 yards this year, it's the kicking camps he attends in the off-season.
Well, I went to 3 this year, and there were only 2 high school students out of the nation that were there, and all the rest were college players. But give you a lot of competition, show you what you have to do to perform in Division I.
He goes to 3 or 4 of those a summer, and we try to just leave him alone and make sure that you know, he knows more about what he's doing a lot of times than we do.
When you have a kicker with a leg as strong as Jonah's, the colleges are going to start taking notice, and that's certainly been the case here at St. Paul's. Several Division I schools have contacted Jonah, and many SEC schools are very interested.
So I get letters like every week and have to visit colleges and just have to try to do my best.
Well, we've been hearing some things, of course, from in-state and surrounding states. Southern Mississippi, from what I understand, is very high on him. And, well, he's gotten letters. Now, you got a box full of letters, so it's hard to say who exactly is looking at him. But I assume that a lot of SEC schools are probably looking at him. I've heard from several of them. And, you know, I'm almost sure that he's going to go somewhere big.
Reporting from St. Paul's in Mobile, Don Hawes, Action News 10 Sports.
And congratulations to Jonah. Now let's show you some cancellations. The weather has caused some problems, of course, in the high school football games. McGill-Tulane was to play Davidson tonight at Ladd Stadium. That game has been moved to tomorrow at Mary Montgomery. It will start at 7 o'clock, not 7:30. Okay, 2 games that have been completely wiped out. Blunt at Carver Montgomery and Baker, Florida at Flomaton. They will not make up those games. Well, the NCAA is tapping its fingers on the desk, but Mississippi State has been given more time to prepare its response to alleged rules violations in the football program. The response was due yesterday, but MSU officials say the deadline has been extended until October 16th. And Bulldog head coach Jackie Sherrill is preparing for the second hurricane-delayed game of his career. MSU is to play Auburn tonight on ESPN, but because of Hurricane Opal, the contest has been postponed until Saturday. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff at Jordan-Hare. There will be no TV. Of course, back in 1988, Sherrill's Texas A&M Aggies had to postpone a game with Alabama because of Hurricane Gilbert. Bama won that game 30-10. Auburn can only hope the results are just as nice.
All right, thanks, Lance.
Be right back.
Coming up tonight at 10, we continue our team coverage on Hurricane Opal with new reports you haven't seen yet. We'll be showing you the damage in places like Bruton, Montgomery, and Atlanta. Plus, it's a horrifying story. A truck crashes into a daycare center with deadly results. Those stories and much more tonight at 10 after ER.
And that wraps it up for Action News 10 at 6 p.m.
We'll see you at 10. Good night.